The silent Guardian Captain Sarah Chen floated in the command center of humanity's greatest secret, her weathered hands gripping the rail as she watched the stars through the massive viewport. The Titan's wrath stretched nearly 2 kilometers in length, hidden deep within the asteroid field beyond Pluto. For 15 years, this supercarrier had waited in the shadows while Earth played the role of a weak, insignificant world. The bridge hummed with quiet activity. Officers moved with practiced precision, their uniforms bearing no official Earth insignia. They were ghosts, these men and women who had volunteered to disappear from official records to serve aboard humanity's secret guardian. Commander Rico Martinez approached with a datapad in hand. His face was grim, etched with lines that spoke of too many sleepless nights watching the galaxy's political games unfold. Captain, we're receiving reports from the outer colonies. The Korthak Empire has begun their assault on New Geneva. Sarah's jaw tightened. New Geneva was home to 3 million human colonists, farmers, and miners who had ventured to the edge of known space, seeking a better life. They had no military defenses, no warships to protect them. According to galactic law, they should have been under the protection of the Galactic Union, but humanity's requests for defensive aid had been repeatedly denied. Casualties? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer would be devastating. Unknown. But the initial bombardment was extensive, Rico replied. The Korthak fleet consists of 12 heavy cruisers and a battle carrier. They're not taking prisoners. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of every decision that had led to this moment. 3 years ago, when Admiral Marcus Webb had first briefed her on Project Shadowhawk, she had questioned the wisdom of building such massive warships in secret. Earth's official military consisted of patrol boats and system defense platforms, nothing that would threaten the established galactic order. The galaxy sees us as weak, Admiral Webb had explained during that classified briefing. They think humans are good for manual labor and resource extraction, nothing more. But they've made a mistake, Captain. They've given us time to prepare, time to build something they never expected. The Titan's wrath was the culmination of human ingenuity and determination, built using resources from hidden mining operations throughout the outer system, powered by fusion reactors that pushed the boundaries of known technology, and armed with weapons that existed nowhere in official Earth databases. Every component had been manufactured in secret facilities, every worker sworn to secrecy that they maintained even from their own families. Signal from Earth Command, announced Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. Her voice carried the tension they all felt. Admiral Webb is requesting immediate secure conference. The hologram of Admiral Webb materialized in the center of the bridge. At 65, he still carried himself with the bearing of a career military officer, but Sarah could see the exhaustion in his eyes. For too long, he had watched Earth's colonies suffer while the Galactic Union looked the other way. Captain Chen, the situation has escalated beyond what we anticipated, Webb began without preamble. The Korthak Empire isn't just hitting New Geneva. Intelligence reports indicate they're mobilizing for a full-scale invasion of human space. They believe we're defenseless. What about the Galactic Union? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. Webb's expression darkened. Ambassador, Zephyr delivered their official response an hour ago. The Union considers this an internal matter between primitive species and will not intervene unless core Union worlds are threatened. Sarah felt a familiar anger building in her chest. Zephyr was the Alterian diplomat who had spent years condescending to human representatives, treating Earth like a backward colony that should be grateful for whatever scraps the Union chose to provide. The Alterians, with their crystalline skin and superior attitudes, had made it clear that humans were barely considered sentient by Union standards. How many ships do the Korthak have committed to this invasion? Rico asked. Our scouts report at least 80 vessels, Webb replied. 3 full battle groups with support carriers. They're treating this as a cleanup operation, expecting minimal resistance. The bridge fell silent. 80 warships against Earth's officially recognized fleet of patrol boats and defensive platforms. On paper, it would be a massacre, but the Korthak Empire, like the rest of the galaxy, had no idea what humanity had been building in the shadows. Admiral, Sarah said quietly, Are we authorized to reveal? Shadowhawk? Webb nodded slowly. As of 1 hour ago, Project Shadowhawk is fully operational. Captain, you are authorized to engage at your discretion. Show them what humanity is really capable of. After the transmission ended, Sarah turned to face her crew. These men and women had given up everything to serve aboard this secret vessel. They had families who believed they were dead, careers that had been erased from official records, entire lives sacrificed for this moment. All hands, this is the captain, Sarah announced over the ship's intercom. For 15 years we have waited in the shadows while our people suffered. We have watched the galaxy dismiss humanity as weak and primitive. Today that ends. The Titan's wrath began to move. Fusion engines that had been running silent for months roared to life, pushing the massive Supercarrier out of its hiding place among the asteroids. The ship's stealth systems, based on technology that Earth officially didn't possess, kept them invisible to conventional sensors as they accelerated toward the jump point. In the tactical center, Commander Martinez coordinated with the ship's department heads. The Titan's wrath carried a crew of 8,000, but every person aboard had been carefully selected for their skills and their discretion. They had trained for years in secret facilities, preparing for a war that most of the galaxy believed would never come. Jump calculations complete, reported the navigation officer. Course laid in for the New Geneva system. Weapons status? Sarah asked. All systems green, Captain, came the reply from the weapons officer. Plasma batteries charged, missile tubes loaded, fighter squadrons ready for launch. Sarah looked out at the stars one last time before they jumped. After today, nothing would be the same. Earth would no longer be able to hide behind the facade of weakness. The galaxy would know that humanity had teeth. Execute jump, she ordered. Space twisted around them as the Titan's wrath entered hyperspace. The journey to New Geneva would take 6 hours, but Sarah used that time to prepare her crew for what they would face. The Korthak were known throughout the galaxy as brutal warriors, their ships heavily armored, and their tactics focused on overwhelming firepower. But the Korthak had never faced human military doctrine. While other species in the galaxy had grown complacent, relying on traditional tactics and established technologies, humanity had spent decades studying every conflict, every battle report they could access. They had learned from the mistakes of others and developed new approaches to space warfare. As they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Geneva system, the tactical display immediately filled with red contacts. The Korthak fleet was spread across the system, their massive vessels systematically destroying anything that might represent human resistance. The orbital stations around New Geneva were already burning wrecks, and the planet's surface showed the scars of orbital bombardment. 12 Korthak heavy cruisers, 1 battle carrier, and numerous support vessels, Martinez reported. They're positioned in a standard occupation formation, focusing on surface bombardment rather than system defense. Sarah studied the tactical display. The Korthak had made the same mistake that had cost them victories in previous conflicts against other species. They were so confident in their superiority that they hadn't bothered to establish proper defensive positions or maintain adequate sensor sweeps. Signal the fleet to maintain stealth, Sarah ordered. Launch fighter squadrons, but keep them cloaked until my command. The Titan's wrath had been designed around a new concept in space warfare. Rather than relying solely on large ship-to-ship combat, the Supercarrier could deploy hundreds of small, fast fighters equipped with advanced stealth systems and powerful weapons. Each fighter was crewed by 2 pilots who had trained for years in deep space combat scenarios. Captain, the communications officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from the Korthak flagship. They're demanding surrender from any remaining human forces. Sarah smiled grimly. Open a channel to all Korthak vessels. Maximum broadcast power. Channel open, Captain. Sarah stepped forward, her voice carrying across space to the alien fleet that had come to destroy her people. Korthak fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Titan's Wrath. You have attacked innocent civilians and committed acts of war against humanity. You have exactly one chance to withdraw from this system before we respond. The response came quickly, filled with the clicking, harsh language of the Korthak translated through universal communicators. Human vessel, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender now and we will grant you a quick death. Continue this resistance and we will ensure your entire species suffers. Sarah looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. Each one reflected the same determination, the same quiet readiness that had brought them to this moment. They had trained for years for this day, preparing for a war that the galaxy believed humanity could never win. All fighters break stealth and engage, Sarah commanded. All weapons, fire at will. The space around New Geneva erupted in light and fury as Earth's secret weapon finally revealed itself to the galaxy. The galaxy takes notice. The first wave of fighters from the Titan's wrath struck the Korthak fleet like a swarm of angry hornets. Each fighter, no larger than a shuttle, carried weapons that could penetrate the heavy armor of Korthak cruisers. The alien fleet, caught completely off guard, scrambled to respond to an attack pattern they had never encountered before. Captain Sarah Chen watched from the bridge as her tactical display showed the battle unfolding. The Korthak heavy cruisers, designed for ship-to-ship combat and orbital bombardment, found themselves unable to effectively target the small, fast-moving human fighters. Their massive weapons, built to destroy other capital ships, were too slow and cumbersome to track targets that moved like bullets through space. Direct hit on the Korthak flagship, reported Commander Martinez. Their main reactor is showing instability. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on the larger picture. This battle was being broadcast across the galaxy through automated monitoring stations and news networks. Every major civilization would be watching as Earth revealed capabilities that no one had suspected. The second wave of fighters launched from the Titan's wrath, targeting the Korthak battle carrier. The massive vessel, nearly as large as Earth's Supercarrier, had been launching its own fighters to support the attack on New Geneva's surface. But Korthak fighters were designed for atmospheric combat and close support missions, not the precision space warfare that human pilots had trained for. Enemy fighter squadrons are breaking off their attack runs, the tactical officer announced. They're trying to regroup near their carrier. Pursue and destroy, Sarah ordered. Show them no mercy. They showed none to our colonists. The space battle raged for 3 hours. By the end, 12 Korthak heavy cruisers had been reduced to burning wrecks, their hulls cracked open by weapons that shouldn't have existed on a primitive human vessel. The battle carrier, its fighter bays destroyed and its command structure eliminated, drifted powerless through space. But Sarah knew the real battle was just beginning. As news of the engagement spread across the galaxy, Earth would face questions it had avoided for decades. The pretense of weakness that had protected humanity while they built their secret fleet was now shattered forever. Captain, Lieutenant Torres announced from communications, we're receiving priority transmissions from the Galactic Union, the Hegemony, and at least 6 other major civilizations. They're all demanding immediate explanations. Sarah looked at the tactical display one more time. The wreckage of the Korthak fleet drifted around New Geneva like a monument to human determination. Below on the planet's surface, rescue ships were already launching to help the survivors of the orbital bombardment. Set course for Earth, Sarah ordered. It's time for the galaxy to meet the real humanity. The journey back to Earth took 4 days, and during that time, the galaxy exploded with activity. News networks across dozens of civilizations broadcast endless analysis of the battle footage. Military experts struggled to explain how a single human vessel had destroyed an entire Korthak battle group. Politicians demanded answers from their intelligence services about how they had missed such a significant military development. On the hour bridge of the Titan's wrath, Sarah received regular updates from Admiral Webb on Earth. The response from the Galactic community was exactly what they had expected: fear, anger, and demands for immediate inspections of human military capabilities. The Alterian embassy has lodged a formal protest, Webb reported during one of their daily briefings. Ambassador Zephyr is claiming that Earth has violated multiple arms limitation treaties. Sarah couldn't help but smile. Treaties that they forced us to sign while refusing to provide any protection for our colonies. How convenient for them to remember those agreements now. The situation is more complex than that, Captain, Webb continued. Intelligence reports indicate that the Korthak Empire is mobilizing their entire fleet. They've declared a blood vendetta against humanity, claiming that our surprise attack was a violation of honorable warfare. And the Galactic Union's response? Webb's expression grew grim. They're calling for an emergency session of the Galactic Council. There's talk of economic sanctions, military intervention, even a complete blockade of human space until we agree to full disarmament. Sarah studied the star charts displayed on her tactical screen. Earth's official territory included only a dozen star systems, but the secret mining operations and hidden shipyards extended much further into what the galaxy considered empty space. The Titan's Wrath was only the first of Earth's secret weapons to be revealed. Admiral, I think it's time to show them our full hand, Sarah said quietly. Webb nodded slowly. Project Shadowhawk Phase 2? All 3 supercarriers, full battle groups, complete operational capabilities. Let them see what humanity has really built while they weren't paying attention. The transmission ended, and Sarah turned to address her crew. Over the past few days, the men and women aboard the Titan's Wrath had begun to understand the magnitude of what they had accomplished. They were no longer just the crew of a secret warship. They were the vanguard of humanity's emergence as a galactic power. 3 days later, as the Titan's Wrath approached Earth orbit, Sarah received the signal she had been waiting for. 2 more massive shapes dropped out of hyperspace, their stealth systems deactivating to reveal vessels even larger than her own supercarrier. The Sovereign's Hammer and the Liberty's Edge, humanity's second and third secret supercarriers, took position alongside the Titan's Wrath. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human engineering, incorporating lessons learned from decades of studying alien technology and adapting it to human needs. Admiral Webb's image appeared on the bridge's main display, but behind him, Sarah could see the representations of the other supercarrier captains. Captain James Harrison of the Sovereign's Hammer, a former merchant marine officer who had helped design the ship's revolutionary logistics systems. Captain Maria Santos of the Liberty's Edge, the youngest supercarrier captain in human history and a genius at electronic warfare. Ladies and gentlemen, Webb began, the Korthak Empire has responded to our defensive action at New Geneva by mobilizing their entire fleet. 200 vessels are currently en route to Earth, with an estimated arrival time of 72 hours. The implications hung heavy in the air. 200 Korthak warships represented the largest military force assembled in this sector of the galaxy for over a century. On paper, it should have been more than enough to crush Earth's defenses and reduce human civilization to scattered refugees. However, Webb continued with a slight smile, our intelligence networks have also detected something else. 14 different civilizations have dispatched observation fleets to monitor the coming battle. The Hegemony, the Alterian Collective, even the mysterious Voidwalkers have ships moving toward Earth space. Sarah understood immediately. The galaxy's major powers wanted to watch humanity's destruction firsthand, to see how Earth's unexpected military capabilities would fare against overwhelming odds. They expected to witness the final humiliation of the species that had dared to challenge the established order. They're about to get quite a surprise, Captain Harrison commented from the Sovereign's Hammer. The question, Captain Santos added, is what happens after we win. The galaxy won't be able to ignore us anymore. Webb nodded gravely. That's a problem for tomorrow. Today we focus on survival and showing the galaxy that humanity deserves a seat at the table of major powers. Over the next 72 hours, Earth's 3 supercarriers worked in coordination with the planet's revealed defensive systems. Hidden weapons platforms throughout the solar system came online, their positions carefully chosen over years of planning. Fighter squadrons from all 3 carriers conducted training exercises that were actually combat preparations. When the Korthak fleet finally arrived, it was met not by a desperate defense but by a carefully orchestrated demonstration of human military doctrine. The battle lasted 8 hours and was broadcast live across the galaxy. By the end, the Korthak Empire's fleet had been utterly destroyed, and dozens of alien civilizations were scrambling to reassess everything they thought they knew about humanity. In the aftermath, as rescue operations began, and the galaxy's observation fleets maintained careful distances, Sarah received a transmission that changed everything. It came from the Zephyrian Collective, a group of smaller civilizations that had been oppressed by the major galactic powers for generations. "Captain Chen," the transmission began, "we have watched your species emerge from the shadows with capabilities that none of us possessed. We wish to formally request Earth's assistance in securing our own freedom from the powers that have kept us enslaved." Sarah looked out at the stars, knowing that humanity had just stepped onto a stage much larger than Earth's solar system. The galaxy had taken notice, and there would be no going back to the shadows.